share a couple of remarks and reflections, and then if you have questions, you can share them in the Q&A feature, and those will go directly to Dean Jones. With that, I wanted to start us off with sharing a video with you, and we racked our brains with how to celebrate our first 100 days together as a community with our new dean, and we thought we'd ask our students, faculty, and staff what they feel makes Drake Law special. Our marketing team did a wonderful job in putting together this quick video, and so bear with me. I'm going to share it with you now. I think you'll find it as inspirational as I did. And with that, I turn it over to Dean Roscoe Jones.
Dean Lane, thank you so much for the kind introduction and welcome, Drake Law community. It is so great to have everyone here at our first town hall celebrating our first 100 days together. What I want to do is spend a little bit of time bringing you up to speed. I know we have some folks who may be new, and so I want to do a quick introduction of who I am, talk a little bit about what we've been up to as a community in the first 100 days, share with you my vision for us as Drake Law 2.0 and where we're headed, and then answer any questions that you may have. So I'm Roscoe Jones. I'm the new dean at the Drake Law School. I kicked us off and began July 1. I worked pro bono since April 1. I had a chance to spend 3 months doing transition work with our fearless predecessor, Jerry Anderson. And it was really fantastic. It really helped us to hit the ground running. I'm a native Southerner. I actually am from the South. I was born in Meridian, Mississippi, raised in Houston, Texas. My father actually was an officer in the U.S. Marine Corps, and in March at Selma on Bloody Sunday. My mother was a 30-year educator. And so in my family, the two things that were always important was really education, education being transformative, transforming the lives of individuals, transforming the lives of communities, and the notion of service, doing something bigger than yourself. With those values in mind, I went to college at Stanford University. I played football there. I double majored in history and political science. I then went to the University of Virginia Law School. After law school, I clerked for two federal judges on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit and the District Court of Maryland. I turned down the big money of the law firms and I went on a fellowship, a one-year fellowship, doing civil rights impact litigation for low-income people at an inner-city nonprofit in Baltimore City called the Public Justice Center. After that year, I would spend a decade on Capitol Hill, advising 3 U.S. senators and a member of Congress, from counsel all the way to chief of staff. Spent 5 years at the U.S. Department of Justice. I was in the Civil Rights Division, traveling the country, arguing civil rights appeals. I went to the front office. I did civil rights policy work with the White House and Capitol Hill. I then went to Seattle, got married, became a federal prosecutor, and worked on things from prosecuting white supremacists to drug cartels to Russian mafia. I then came back to Capitol Hill and eventually made my way to a large law firm. I was a partner at Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher, leading our public policy work there at the firm. But all along the way, I've always felt the highest calling is really higher education, to be able to give back to the next generation of lawyers and leaders. So for over a decade, I would jump on planes flying around the country teaching. I taught at the University of Washington, both the law and the Evans School. I taught at Georgetown and Michigan 3 times, University of Chicago Law School, Yale Law School, and the Harvard Kennedy School. When I was in private practice, I got a chance to be inspired. I worked with 2 dozen law deans who were my clients with the ABA Consortium on Police Reform. I thought, naively and wrongly, that I've got something to offer that group. I worked on those issues on Capitol Hill. What I didn't know is that group would have something to offer me. I think one of the greatest gifts out there, maybe the best job in legal education, being the dean of a law school. So as I went out there looking for deanships, I knew what I wanted. People always assume that maybe he came to Drake Law School because his wife is from Iowa. And my wife is from Iowa. She's from a small town, Logan, Iowa, Western Iowa, 30 minutes north of Omaha, town of 1,200 people, 1 stoplight. That's not the only reason I came to Drake Law. It's not even the main reason. I came to Drake Law because of our community, our culture that focuses on collegiality and support, a place where everyone knows your name, a place that is supportive of each other. I came to Drake Law because I also believed in being a practitioner. I wanted a place that understood that law school is not just about theory. It's also about how do we train lawyers to roll up their sleeves and do what lawyers do. I came to Drake Law because we have such a wide variety of experienced team members around me who make me look much better than I am. I came to Drake Law because I knew we already had a rock solid foundation. 95% career placement rate. Students get jobs. We've got a really financially stable budget. We have a bar passage rate over the last 3 years of 90%. We do the fundamentals incredibly well. I'm excited to take us to that next level. I'll share my vision with you in a second, but let me tell you a little bit about what we've been up to in the first 100 days. And first of all, thank the community for the warm reception and welcoming for me, my wife Serena, and our dog Wrigley. We have felt completely warm and brought in by this community, and I want to thank you all for that. So what have we been up to? Well, I come from Washington, so I always think about the first 100 days, and I wanted to hit the ground running. We've been doing a listening tour. I've had a chance to meet one-on-one with all of our faculty, all of our staff, all of our student leaders internally. Externally, we've been out in the community. I've had a chance to meet with judges here in Des Moines, with the legislature, and also with law firms and companies all throughout the greater Des Moines area. We also are going and doing a 10-city alumni outreach tour. 5 cities in the fall, 5 in the spring. I've already come back from places like Chicago, the Twin Cities, Denver, and just yesterday, I was in the Quad Cities meeting with our alums. We have other stops to make as well, too. We're coming to a city near you, from Washington, D.C. to Dallas, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, and also Kansas City, Missouri. So stay tuned, and I hope to see all of you in person. We've also done something that's never been done before, I believe, in all of higher education, particularly legal education. We did a Deep South recruitment tour, 6 states in 6 days. We visited over 15 different colleges and universities. I met with over 250 students from R1 institutes like Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, University of Houston, University of South Carolina, to almost every single historically Black college and Latino serving institute from Texas to the Carolinas. I didn't get to Georgia because I got stuck in a hurricane in the Carolinas, but we hope to get there soon as well, too. It was helpful in two ways. One, being able to expand our brand, going to a different area of the country. Over 250 students who had never heard of Drake, we now are on their radar. And we've had several students already reach out to us, excited about applying to Drake Law School. It also is helpful in terms of diversity, going to where the talent is, not just in Iowa, but all over the country, to talk about what I believe is the best kept secret in legal education. And my job is to make Drake Law no longer a secret. There's other things that we've been doing as well, too. We've had a chance to welcome new faculty members to join our community. Professor Colleen Cullen, who came from the University of Denver, former public defender. She has a great love affair with Milwaukee, I'll tell you. You may chat with her and say, gosh, which one is a better world city, Harris or Milwaukee, Wisconsin? We're super excited to have Professor Cullen with us. Professor Sayoko Blodgett Ford also joined us this year. She is an expert in intellectual property and artificial intelligence. She has tremendous amount of expertise. She was a former general counsel, also worked at Nintendo, and she probably has more degrees than anybody I've ever met, including 3 master's degrees, a Yale Law degree, and a master's degree in physics. We're so lucky to have her. She's already hit the ground running, creating an initiative called IP is Everywhere, where students in our lounge get a chance to look at old films and figure out the IP issues and win some Drake Law swag. In the spring, she's going to be doing AI is Everywhere. So we look forward and are thankful for all the energy both of our new faculty members have brought to the equation. We're also currently hiring. We've got open slots that we're looking for, including we made a hire recently for crim law and crim procedure. I can't yet say the name, but I will tell you, you will be quite pleased. It is someone who is an extraordinary talent, someone who is a former federal defender in a Midwestern state. And they may have also appeared in a Netflix documentary called Making a Murderer. So stay tuned. I can't wait to make that announcement as well, too. In addition, we've had so many other great things happening in our faculty. Professor Alexa Perez, one of our young junior faculty members and total rock star, had her first publication ever, and it was in an Ivy League law journal. Her article, A Critical Analysis of Rape Shield Laws, is set to be published in the Cornell Law Review. Her work has also been featured on the Excited Utterance podcast, where she discussed her groundbreaking research. We have Professor Jim Albert, who successfully raised over $520,000 for educational initiatives in Belize. We actually named Classroom 213 the James A. Albert Classroom. I will tell you, it was a magnificent event. We had over 200 people in attendance. The classroom was so full, we had an overflow in the Current Commons, where we literally had TV screens up so people could participate. We had students who zoomed in from Belize, and we had students from all different classes and generations there in attendance, sharing their affection for Professor Albert. Professor Mel Warish, who teaches legal writing, also organized the Bomb Ethics in Profession Symposium, and it was quite a success. It focused on critical topics such as rural legal deserts, the role of general artificial intelligence in the law. We had professors from all over the country that were here in attendance, and it was quite a success. We're so lucky to have Professor Warish in her leadership. Professor Mark Kinde also has had a tremendous impact, coordinating our remarkable Constitutional Law Day event, where we featured Professor Guy Charles of the Harvard Law School. He came and spent about 48 hours with us. He's a professor of law and a faculty director at the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Race and Justice at the Harvard Law School. And he offered a compelling lecture on race and the American democracy. We also celebrated 4 decades of service with Dean John Edwards, his 40th anniversary at the law school. So tons of great things that are going on. We've also had an entering class that is absolutely fantastic. The class is about 123 students. To put this in perspective, we've averaged about 110 students per year. So this is much more on the larger side for us. They come from 24 different states all over the country. Their median LSAT is about 2 points higher than the class before. Their median GPA is almost a point higher than the class before. And they even won the softball tournament. So it's an amazing group of talented folks from all over the country. I will tell you, applications continue to be up as well. Last year, applications were up over 40% to the law school. This year, and these numbers do fluctuate, they do change day by day, but we're already 25% higher today than we were at the same point last year. We're in the talent business. Our job is to bring in the best talent, to bring in and retain the best talent at a faculty, staff, and student level. And we're continuing to do that with excellence. Lastly, let me share with you my vision for Drake Law and where I want to take us. I want to continue, in short, to make sure we're dominating the state of Iowa in terms of recruitment and in terms of our impact, that we're expanding our brand, not just being a crown jewel in central Iowa and the Midwest, but becoming a national school as well, too. And also that we're going to fundraise to make sure we can continue to support all of our priorities. You see behind me that whiteboard. That whiteboard is a list of the 4 different pillars of the priority areas that I have. I keep it on rollers so I can roll it into every meeting. We talk about it as a community. Let me talk about that vision with you. The first piece is sustained investment. We want to grow our faculty, to grow our staff. We want to up our compensation. We also want to have more endowed faculty positions, and we need more student scholarships. As I mentioned, we're in a talent business. For our alums, I go all over the country and I talk to our alums, and our alums have great affection for this institution, great pride in this institution. We've gone up in the rankings from in the 120s to 88 to 82nd. We're tied now with the University of Nebraska, University of Miami, the University of Oregon. But they have more resources than we have. And to continue our upward trajectory, to continue having excellence, we have new levels of competition. So whether that's bringing in talented students who will change the metrics, and by the way, admissions is not just metrics. Everywhere I go, I always have someone in the audience who tells me, Roscoe, don't forget about me. Drake was the only school I got into. Maybe I applied to 11 schools. Drake was the only one I got into. Now I'm a judge. Now I'm a general counsel. Now I'm a partner at a law firm. We want talent, not just metrics. But as we go up in the rankings, and as those metrics do matter, oftentimes we're in competition for talent with other law schools all over the country. Many of those students get full scholarships. And so to continue to have the best talent coming to Drake Law, we've got to have more of an emphasis on student scholarships. The same with our faculty as well, too. I mentioned that we're currently hiring faculty right now. And as we look all over the country, we're in the competition for talent with law schools all over the nation. And so in order to get the best talent to Drake, we've got to have more of those endowed faculty positions. So sustained investment is the first pillar. The second pillar of the vision is focusing on excellence and inclusion. Excellence. That means all the things that we already do well, we have to continue. You know, when you come in as a leader of a new organization, you have to understand something. What are the things I want to change? What are the things that I want to take us to a new place? But what are the things that can never change? What are the things that define us of who we are that will always be part of our DNA? Part of that is our collaborative culture. Part of that is focusing in on things like uh, teaching lawyers not just theory, but practice. Part of that is that career placement rate, 95%. I want to make sure we continue to be in the 90s, that is a floor, not a ceiling. Part of that is our bar passage rate, 90% average in the last 3 years. Those things can never change. But we also want to make sure that we're focusing in on our culture. You know, when I talk to alums, they always tell me the thing that I love about Drake Law Roscoe is that I became a practitioner, and all those lawyers who went to those fancy schools, they asked a Drake lawyer, how do you do that interrogatory? How do you ask questions of this witness? How do you file this complaint or this motion? Those things can never change. But when you talk to our students say what they love about Drake Law, as you saw in the video, is that we are a small but supportive law school, a place where everyone knows your name, a place where students feel a sense of belonging and support. And those things are like a muscle. We have to keep exercising them for it to be our strength. Before the school year began, we actually even had a faculty retreat. No business, all culture. I invited all the faculty and staff over to my house personally because we want to make sure that we are leaning into that. Great teams usually do three things well. They have great communication, they have great commitment, and they have great connectivity. And that is part of our culture. Pillar number three is focusing on being a place of big ideas. I want to make sure that Drake Law is a great partner. We're a great partner with the Maine University. We're a great partner with the city of Des Moines. We're a great partner in the state of Iowa. And that means leaning into trend areas. Some school in the Midwest will be known as a school on artificial intelligence. Why not us? Some school in the Midwest will be known as a school on criminal justice reform. Why not us? Some school in the Midwest will be known as a school on access to justice in rural areas. Why not us? So in all three of those areas, access to justice in rural areas, criminal justice reform, and artificial intelligence, we have assembled task force of professors who are working on coming up with, by the end of the academic year, 3 to 4 bold ideas of what we can do in each of those issue areas. You know, as a leader, you don't just say, this is what we're going to do. You don't hire talented people and tell talented people what to do. It's not inspirational. It's not logical. Instead, you take talented people and you get their advice, their guidance, their wisdom. That's what we're doing here with these task force who are coming up with bold and innovative ideas so that us as a community will be ready to take the jump to the next level. The fourth and final area of the vision focuses on service and leadership. I want to make sure that any student who wants to do public service has the ability to do so, whether it's honors programs, whether it's fellowships, even judicial clerkships. I will tell you, when I saw our numbers coming in, I was so pleased at how we're doing in terms of our foundation. But the one area I want to make sure we continue to improve is on judicial clerkships. So one initiative that we have done is we have come up with a strategy. We're going to focus 3 times a year on judicial clerkships through programming. And students will hear different perspectives. They will hear from judges who've taken our clerks. They will hear from other students and alums who've clerked or externed. And they will hear from their professors who've clerked on why clerking is important, how do you go about it, and how does it shape your career going forward. Leadership. Too often than not, I think lawyers are disproportionately leaders. We end up being partners in law firms. We end up being general counsels and CEOs and elected officials. I'm not sure in legal education if we've always done a great job preparing law students for leadership. We want to lean into that a bit more. So we've created a Dean Speaker Series where we bring in leaders to talk to our students about lawyers as leaders. This fall, we focused on government and nonprofit. We had a series discussion with metro mayors from all over the metro area, many of whom were lawyers and Drake Law alums, and also a member of the legislature. In the spring, we're going to do the Dean Speaker Series on leadership again, but this time focused not on government service, but on lawyers in the private sector. We're thrilled that we're going to have Natalie Lamarck, the General Counsel and Principal, who will be there. We're thrilled that we're going to have Johnny Taylor, who the Law Review Suite is named after, who will also be there, who's the president of SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, the largest human resources management company in the world, and who's also written a book on leadership, all of whom will be here. In addition, we currently have a working group that is campus-wide where we're thinking through Leadership 2.0 for not just a law school, but for the university. And I'm excited to see what efforts could come out of that. And lastly, we also would love to do a mentorship program. I've already created a mentorship program for our faculty, for our senior faculty to mentor our junior faculty. And we're going to do the same for students. The idea is to have an alum follow a student all 3 years. The first year focused on how do I get through law school? How do I survive? The second year focused on how do I get a job? How do I network? How do I interview? How do I do those career skills? The third year, circling back to that notion of leadership, of lawyers as leaders, and really honing in on leadership skills. So all of this is quite exciting. I will tell you, as I tell my alums everywhere I go, it's going to take a little bit of time to set up that mentoring program. I don't want our alums to wait on us. It may take me a few years finding the right donors, having maybe a full-time person to do the comprehensive level of mentoring we want to do. But I want all of our alums who are on today to not just wait on us. We need you to put your arms around our students already, whether it's pre-law students who are interested in coming to Drake in your areas of the country, encourage them to do so, whether it's graduates of Drake Law who then go back to their metro areas. Maybe they go back to Chicago or they go back to the Quad Cities. We need to make sure that you're wrapping your arms around them. You know, when I did the Deep South tour, the number one question that I got from students wasn't, why should I come to Drake Law? We made a very compelling case. The number one question I got from students was, if I go to Drake Law and I decide to go back to my community outside of the state, will alumni be ready to support me? So everywhere I go, I'm also meeting with alums with that message. We need you. We need you for that, for everything that you do, your time, your service, all of that, but particularly to help our students. Thank you so much for taking the time. I will also mention one other housekeeping note. We have a very innovative program. I think we've mentioned it before, but I want to mention it as many times as I can, called Drake Law Connect. It's a social media platform that really allows our alumni and our students to connect with each other, alums to connect with each other, alums to connect with students. It's a way for us to really continue the vibrancy of our community 2.0 as we move forward in a new era. I think Terry is going to put the link to Drake Law Connect in the chat room. I would encourage you and ask all of you to please sign up for Drake Law Connect. It's only as powerful as our community's willingness to participate. We need you. We hope that we'll have your support. Thank you for all that you have done for Drake Law. Thank you for all that you will do for Drake Law. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. First question. What is your favorite Southern dish to have at Thanksgiving? Oh gosh, that's a great one. You know, I love the Southern part of the equation, right? I love seafood in general. It's my favorite food. But I would say my favorite Southern dish would probably be anything with um, um, grits, probably either catfish and grits or shrimp and grits. I'm a big seafood guy, and so anything that I can have with seafood with grits, that would be probably my best ones. Non-traditional for Thanksgiving. Everyone has to have the turkey. That's a big part of it. You got to have the dessert too. I have been always a fan of sweet potato pie. I don't know if we have sweet potato pie in the Midwest. It's a big Southern cuisine, but I love to finish off a great meal with that as well too. Next question. What is your biggest success in the first 100 days? You know, I think our biggest success in the first 100 days is really this sense of connectivity, really connecting with each other. We spent a lot of time as a faculty, as I mentioned, from having a faculty retreat to doing our one-on-one time, really getting to know each other, being more deeply connected to each other. And then I think externally, being able to connect with our external community, with our alumni all over the country, with other members who are supporters and friends of Drake Law, including judges and legislatures and law firms and companies. We take great pride in Drake Law being in Des Moines and that our education doesn't stop at the four walls of our building. Our students have access to really everything that we offer in a financial capital like Des Moines, in a state capital where the legislature is here, where the Supreme Court is here. And so those connections mean so much to us. I think another great success is really that Deep South tour. Again, I don't think that's ever happened before in legal education. And so as we think about how do we expand our brand, and we always talk about this, there's three different ways to expand a brand. One, we lean into technology. You may notice your dean is very active on social media. It's part of our strategy. We want to make sure we're communicating and connecting with as many people in and outside of our community as possible. We want to talk about all the great things that we're doing and let the world know. Secondly, you go to where the talent is. That's why we did the Deep South tour. We're really proud of that. I want to give a shout out to our admissions team, particularly to Brianna, who's really the quarterback behind the scenes of that and has done a terrific job. I will tell you, it's not just a one-off. We're continuing our outreach. In fact, we just last week did a virtual tour of institutions where we have not yet visited in the South. One of them was Auburn University. I had hoped it would be a success if maybe 7 to 10 students showed up. We had 74 students from Auburn University show up. So I think the Deep South Tour is a great example of our success. And the third way you expand a brand is you bring great talent to you. I mentioned we had Professor Guy Charles from Harvard Law School here. We also have a number of federal judges who will be coming. We've had a number of uh, law firms that have come through and had brown bags. We've had county attorneys that have been here as well. We've got people, distinguished luminaries and judges coming, such as Holly Thomas, who's a recently appointed judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. She's coming next fall. We have Carl Stewart, who's a former chief judge of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. He's coming in the spring. California Justice Leandra Kruger, the first African-American editor-in-chief of the Yale Law Review, a finalist for the last U.S. Supreme Court vacancy at the age of 45. She's coming next spring as well, too. So that's our strategy of how we expand our brand. I think we're doing a really, really great job of doing that in our first 100 days. The last question here is, what are the challenges that you're uncovering? I think one challenge that I mentioned was really our judicial clerkships. I think it's really important that we continue to emphasize the importance of judicial clerkships. I want to make sure we continue to put more of an emphasis there. I've mentioned our resource challenges as we go up in the rankings. We want to continue to have as many resources as our competitors. That's going to be a challenge as well, too. And I mentioned The culture. Look, it's one of our strengths, but again, it's something we have to continually exercise as well too. And then all those foundational things, right? We want to continue to maintain. It looks easier than it is. It is not. We've got a really talented and dedicated team who makes it look very easy, but that's because they put in so many long hours and work and hard work and effort to really do things that make this community thrive. And we want to continue to do that as well too. Any other questions? One question here is, what's one thing should an alum located 2 time zones away from Des Moines do to best assist your vision for Drake Law? It's a great question. I think thinking about your own time and energy and resources can really answer that. We need your help in whatever way you see fit. For some, maybe that's giving. For some, maybe that's their time and mentoring. It doesn't matter. By the way, I got this question yesterday when I was in the Quad Cities. Should mentoring happen only with connecting students to lawyers in Des Moines, or should we also connect students to lawyers outside of Des Moines? I made it clear. I want to make sure we're connecting with students to alums even outside of Des Moines. The purpose is always to be a professional school and help our students access opportunities. Our students may be very interested in hearing if they want to go back to the Twin Cities. They may want to be mentored by someone who lives in the Twin Cities. If they want to go to the Quad Cities, it's super helpful to be mentored by someone from the Quad Cities. It doesn't just help them while they're in their 3 years of law school, but when they graduate and they're able to get acclimated to the legal climate and culture in that community, that can be incredibly helpful too. I also say I love your advice. If you have ideas on what we can be doing, we welcome that. I want this year to be our listening year, learning from our community. I want next year to be a year of strategic planning, coming up with our strategic plan together as a community. And so I welcome any ideas and inputs that you may have. A couple of other questions here. 2, what are you doing to ensure students who are not in the top third of the class have law-related employment upon graduation? And 2, let me see if I can get the second part of it. What are you doing to assist non-science degree students getting into intellectual property law? Look, I think I'll take the second one first. The IP one is very simple. We made a commitment at a faculty level to bring in an expert full-time professor on intellectual property, not just a part-time professional. We love our adjuncts. They are so invaluable to our community. They add such great real world experience that we need that. But we also think there are times where we need a full professor here to really solidify our commitment to a certain area. I am super excited for Professor Sayoko Blodgett Ford. I think that if you think I have energy, you have not met her. She has tremendous energy, tremendous resources, tremendous knowledge. I think our students are going to learn quite a bit from her. We also have a very dedicated CDO team who is constantly thinking about ways to bring in talent through brown bags and speaking opportunities and connecting our students. And they do a great job of that, including with IP-related issues. I think very similar to your question about students who are not in the top third of the class. Look, we've got a 95% career placement rate. I want it to be even higher. But I think we do a really good job at our CDO office. The motto there is called, we are with you all the way. Not we're with you if you're at the top of the class, right? We're with you all the way. And so we do a great job of mentoring our students, of taking every student's individual circumstances into account. Every time that I've done these trips to meet with law firms and employers, our CDO team comes with me. They get introduced to the hiring managers. They get a chance to meet with and understand the needs of law firms and companies in this immediate area. They're constantly connecting with employers outside of the area of Des Moines, and making sure that all of our students, whether they're top of the class, middle of the class, or somewhere beneath that, that they're going to get access to opportunity. That is our mission. That is our purpose. That is why we are here. The other question here, let's see, is what is your vision for ensuring your students understand the critical importance of maintaining both mental and physical health during a rigorous law school career? Look, well-being is super important. We have a stressful profession. Law school itself is quite stressful. Because we are a smaller school, we really get a chance to get to know our students. I want to give a shout out to our Associate Dean, Aaron Lane, to Dean Liz Battles. They are constantly thinking about these issues of well-being and connecting with our students on a personal level to figure out what are their needs. What are their individual needs? We encourage our students as well to think about balance. Law is a marathon, not a sprint. And we need them for all 3 years and for their long career afterwards. And so maintaining that balance, particularly your first year, where law can be all consuming, but finding time to exercise, to talk to friends, to take hikes or go to a local restaurant or do whatever it is that really is important to you is a priority. It's something that's important. It's a message our students routinely hear, and we will continue to figure out ways to make sure we communicate that effectively, and we are connecting our students with the right resources to make sure they can thrive. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions. I wanted to again thank everyone for participating in this first town hall, our first 100 days together. I want to thank you again for all that you have done for Drake Law and all that you will do. We are a community that is focused on being together. Together, we will do great things. Thank you. Have a good rest of your week.